Alright, this is the chat homework or assignment program. So what it does is basically allows multiple users to connect into a server and go ahead and chat with one another. And the only difference between this program and the previous assignment is that the chat server does not chat with the clients. It only receives the message, and also there's a few differences between the chat client and the chat server. I'll go ahead and explain that within this video. So the difference between the chat client and the messenger is that everything's pushed into the main function. Also, there's an extra thread. The first line, what it's going to do is going to check if there's any arguments. If there's no arguments, we're just going to go ahead and throw an error. And we have this big try and catch block over here. And we have a lot of uninitialized variables. We're just going to separate that. And we have so what we have is a socket output input data streams and also a buffer reader. We also have a string server address is going to be initialized within this try and catch block right here. Then the first item in the argument is going to be a port number, but we need to convert this into an integer afterwards. So what this try and catch block does is if there's no second argument, we're just going to go ahead and default it into localhost. And this is just this part's just going to initialize these variables over here. But again, as I iterated before, we're just going to go ahead and make this string into an integer. Let's go ahead and explain the send name thread. This is only going to run once. There's no loop like the send and receive threads. Send name thread is going to start with the string name. It's going to override the run method in the runnable interface. It's going to try and catch over here. So it's going to ask what's your name. User going to enter in like client 1 or something, or client 2. Then that name is going to be sent to the server. And this is just a confirmation line sending names to server. And we're obviously going to start that thread. And the send and receive thread is basically the same thing with what I had in the messenger. So start with the string message, and we're going to override the run method. While true, we're going to go ahead and ask or retrieve a message from the sender. Then once the client or the sender is done typing, it sends it to the server for the other clients to receive. But if the sender client enters in nothing, like it's an empty string, we're just going to go ahead and close it and shut it down. I'm also going to close this program. The receive is kind of the same thing, but we're just receiving the messages. We're going to start with the string message. We're going to override the run method. I'm going to try and catch over here. The first line of this try is going to read in the first input. If it's not null, we're going to go ahead and print it out. Otherwise, keep on reading messages until it's null. Pretty sure it's supposed to be while true, but this should work too. Otherwise, if we ever find an error, we're just going to go ahead and close and shut down everything. And obviously, we're just going to go ahead and start the send and receive threads. Let's jump into the chat server side. As you guys can see, we have a class here that implements a runnable interface, but we're going to go ahead and explain it from the main function, then work our way up top. So we have a global variable here called client list. It's just an array list that takes in client's object, which is up here. Pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it continuously grows rather than it being a regular array, and which is a constant size. But the public static void main, that's our main function. We have try and catch block over here. The first argument is going to be a port number. We're going to convert that into a string and start a new server socket right here. Then while true, we're just going to go ahead and continuously accept clients. We have that input and output stream over here to handle our inputs and outputs. And the first read from the server is going to be the name. Then we're going to go ahead and print out the name just to confirm who connected. We're going to have a client C over here, client's object, and initialize it, put the server socket or the socket of the client's input, output, and the name into it. This is our receive thread. As you guys can see, the objects within it, because the run methods within the clients. So it's gonna see that as that. Afterwards, we're gonna go ahead and add the new client to the clients list. And lastly, we're just gonna go ahead and start the receiving phase. If we were to go up here, we have class clients that again implements the runnable interface. We have a lot of variables here that needs to be assigned or initialized, and this is what it's going to do. It needs these to initialize these variables up here. As stated previously, we're going to go ahead and override the run method. Start with true message. While true, we have this try and catch block over here. We're going to read in the message. If the message is not null, or if the message is not empty, we're going to go ahead and iterate through the clients over here. But we also have an if statement within it. If the client is the same thing as this object, whoever's sending it, we're just going to go ahead and send it to those who wasn't the sender, so the sender doesn't get their own sent message. But if the message ends up becoming null and empty, or empty, we're going to close it. We're going to shut it down. We're going to close it, and we're also going to remove it from the clients list. And to end off our try, we're going to go ahead and just shut down the client and close it and remove it from the list. That's basically it.